What's up, y'all? I am back for another video. I was supposed to do this last night. I was way too tired because I dozed off out here. So I was supposed to do this video, and I was too tired. So I decided I'm gonna do it today. So I'm technically gonna be doing two because later today, probably not too later though. Probably, um, thinking maybe in a couple hours, maybe. I'm gonna review Blue Velvet. This is a movie my friend Steve recommended me. I've never seen it, so I'll be talking about that. But today, right now, I am gonna be reviewing Abigail, which I have already seen. I saw a month ago. I saw basically the day it came out, but I wanted to get another opinion on it before I saw it and before I reviewed it. And I figured I didn't think I was going to go to the theater again. It was good, but I didn't think I was going to go to the theater again. I was like, okay, I'll just wait till it goes on the seas. And it took a little bit. So finally, it's on the seas, though. And I got to say, I remember being wowed by the trailer. I saw the trailer for this. I don't remember which movie I saw, but I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, okay, this looks kind of interesting. The premise, these criminals end up kidnapping this ballet dancer who's the daughter of a powerful figure in New York. But we find out that she's actually a vampire and that she kills all her dad's enemies. We get this whole reveal. And honestly, pretty funny movie. Like, the characters are pretty fun. Joey, who's the main, that's Melissa Barrera. We find out her real name later, but I'm just going to call her name in the movie. Frank, who's probably my favorite character. I really don't like that they made him a bad guy towards the end, but it's probably my only criticism. And I guess it's hard to call it a criticism because I'll admit it is more of a, because I do like Frank as a character. I found him funny throughout. You have Rickles, which is the big dude, and then you had Peter, and then Catherine Newton, who I know from Supernatural as what's her name, Sammy, who's like the hacker chick, who ends up, and one of the people they kidnap this girl. They wait for the Lazar, who's there. It turns out they're all there. They get killed by Abigail, who's revealed to be a vampire. They have to figure out a way to stop her and basically try to survive the night. And then Lambert, who that's or Gus, you can call him Gus, from Breaking Bad. He's not in it that much. I mean, he's revealed to be a vampire. He ends up turning Frank because they try to basically say, okay, you join me to kill Abigail. And then towards the end, because Joey's like the only one who's kind of nice to Abigail throughout the film, kind of starts liking her. And obviously, the big finale is Abigail versus Frank, which I'll admit wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but the movie itself was pretty good. And then we get a reveal of her father. They don't say it. My friend Mara actually pointed this out to me. The more I think about it, too, it makes sense. That her dad, they don't say it, but the implication is he's supposed to be Dracula. Especially the scene where he says, I go by many names. Makes sense. They don't flat out say it, but it's pretty much implied that it's Dracula. And it works. And it makes sense because Abigail, unlike most vampires, garlic, sunlight, or crucifix, sunlight, and the stake don't work on her. So all the, which makes sense because why it makes sense her father be Dracula, because Dracula, a lot of things that kill normal vampires don't work on him, from what I know of vampire lore. So, and this movie is a lot gorier than I thought it was going to be. Like, it's not, violent, but it's pretty violent. Like, you've seen heads fall off. There's a scene where that's the actress, Sammy, Catherine Newton's character, falls in, a thing of bodies, and it's pretty gross. Like, they don't hold back on the violence as I thought they would. I didn't think this was going to be, that kind of violent, but it pretty much was. Fun characters. Easily Melissa Barrera's best movie. Easily. I didn't hate her in Scream 6, but this is definitely her best movie, that I've seen her in. So, if I were to give this movie out of 10, I'd give it an 8, a flat out 8. I enjoyed it, especially as a horror comedy. I thought it was very well done. Definitely would watch it again. I definitely had fun watching this in the theater. And I definitely wanted to talk about this, but I wanted to see it one more time before I did a video on it. And I definitely hold the same opinion. It's a great film. It's a fun horror comedy. Probably one of my favorite horror comedies. It's not Shaun of the Dead, right? But it's definitely a pretty fun one. So, and there's just like funny lines, like the scene where, like you saw in the trailer, but where Sammy's talking about like, well, what vampire are you talking about? Like, because they talked about like the Anna. I don't know whoever wrote the book, the interview with the vampire book. They mentioned that, and then all the different types of vampires. I like that stuff. Yeah. So, and yeah, it's not a giant body count. I mean, because you're stuck. You're kind of only got the character you kind of got, but I very much enjoyed it. So I'm happy I saw it this year. I'm definitely gonna watch it again. Probably when we get closer to Halloween, I would probably watch it again. But yeah. So later tonight, I'm gonna review. I'm gonna review. The plan is to review Blue Velvet. This is a movie my friend Steve recommended me, so I'm gonna be watching that today. Probably actually I might watch it a little bit early during the day because maybe I might try to review it like during the day just to get it out the way, but we'll see. If not, if something happens, I'll review it tomorrow morning. If something happens, but I'm gonna try to do it tonight though, today. So, anyways, let's get started on Abigail. He opens. You see Joey. And the other criminals get ready to do their mission. Pretty much the film kind of gets going pretty quick. Like they take the girl, bring her to this secluded mansion. Who Lambert they meet basically tells them you have to stay here overnight, watch the girl, and that Joey is the only one who could actually talk to the girl. And I love the riffing on Rat Pack too, if you remember the Rat Pack movies. Because this movie does have that kind of feel to it a little bit. Like, these group of characters brought together, granted, for a different reason, but it has that little bit of a feel, like these different kind of group of people brought together. So... So, basically they're told their instructions. They're forced to give up their phone just so, well, on the guise of, oh, we don't want to be tracked, so we're going to have to take their phones away. The group interacts. Joey talks with Abigail, and then they kind of start bonding because she's like the only one who's allowed to basically interact with her. And then this is where you get the scene from the trailer. It kind of warns, like, Abigail warns Joey that things are about what's gonna happen tonight, which obviously basically warns her that, oh, she's gonna get ready to kill her. Dean tries to flirt with Sammy. That's kind of his whole character. He's the asshole dude who just kind of flirts with the girl. Doesn't go well because he tries to scare her. Doesn't go well. He's told to leave. He then walks around the mansion late at night. Pranks Peter, which is the big dude. He then hears a noise in the kitchen, goes in the kitchen, and then he ends up getting killed while this happens. Then Sammy hears his screams. She ends up finding Dean's body without his head. Calls the others. they think Valdez is there. They think some of it thinks it's trapped. Some think Valdez is there, and Rickles is the black dude. Sorry, I got confused. Rickles is the black guy who he dies pretty early. He's like one of the characters who gets killed pretty early because him and um Joey they almost make it like they don't say it, but they almost like set them up as a couple. Like they have like this connection, but then because they both start suspecting Frank is Valdez. But then she hears a noise. She goes to it. She finds that Rickles is dead, and then confronts Frank because they think Frank is Valdez. But then no, Frank orders Peter to go for the little girl, and then this is basically where we get the reveal that Abigail actually is the one who called for them, and that Lambert works for her. The group flee, and then this is where you get kind of like a funny scene about the vampires and how to kill them, and that. And I love the scene with Peter because this is kind of like a realistic thing that would happen. I love his it's his that realization. These motherfuckers are real. Like, 'cause, you've been told your whole life vampires are not real. For you to just find out like that, I do love when movies kind of acknowledge that because that would be a lot of people's reaction. You're told this thing for however long your life isn't sorry isn't real, and then oh shit, it's real. So they have to try to kill. Joey thinks that they can't kill her, so they think they have to just try to constrain her. But Frank and the rest of the group thinks they have to kill her. And we get a funny scene where Joey gets onions instead of garlic, which that was pretty funny. Frank's reaction is like, "You got fucking onions." It's pretty funny. Like this movie, knew it's like Fall Guy. I would say it knew how to balance the humor and I don't know if I would call it because the movie I don't really feel like it ever really takes itself uber seriously, really. But I guess it's balanced between the horror scenes, right? Because there are scenes where people do get killed, you know. So, um, uh, Sammy, Peter, and Frank try to go at Abigail. It doesn't work. They try to use a garlic. She just huffs the garlic. It has no effect on her. Peter tries to use a crucifix on her. Doesn't work. She ends up actually stabbing the shit out of Peter with it. Frank tries to use a stake, but she ends up stabbing Frank in the leg, through the leg. Oh man, it was pretty brutal. Even though it was through the knee, it was god damn. But it does not work. And then Joey realizes that because she used a tranquilizer earlier on when they took Abigail, it seemed to work. So they end up all basically coming together and decide, we're going to try to do that. And they manage to trank her, even though she nearly takes out a couple of them. But this is when Abigail basically tells them their true names. It turns out that they're all tied to their father or her father because she basically is brought there to kill her father's enemies. Essentially, that's what it is. So I'm gonna try to remember what each of them was. I think Joey was brought there because she was a medic, and because of her drug addiction, she ended up letting somebody important, close to her father, die. Frank was brought there because he was a cop. He ended up killing somebody who was tied to his father. And then Sammy, I think, stole money from her father. And I think that's what it was. And then Peter was kicked out of his gang because same thing. He basically stole from his gang. So, because she's been trying to, because it turns out her father basically is, they kind of basically say it. They don't flat out say it, but they imply that he's abusive and he doesn't actually love his daughter. So that's the only reason she's been killing her father's enemies just to gain her father's love. So they leave Frank in charge. Abigail manages to convince Frank, that if I give you this secret entrance, you got to let me out. And he does. She does give it to him, but it turns out it's a fake one, and she ends up getting out, and Joey manages to. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. I was wrong. Sunlight does affect her because she breaks down a bunch of wooden planks to let the sun in while she's attacking Frank. So then they have to all come together again. And at this point, Sammy was bitten, but the effects didn't seem to start. There didn't seem to be any effects. So they all trusted her. So they let Sammy go with Peter, which then turns out Sammy was wrong because Sammy ends up killing Peter because she's a vampire now. We even get a scene where Abigail almost like teaches her how to dance, like the ballet dance scene, which I'll admit was kind of creepy. Yeah. Abigail, then Sammy attacks Peter and no Frank and Joey, but Frank and Joey manage to kill her with sunlight. They then this is where they find the control room, and they find Lambert, who actually is revealed to be a vampire, and it turns out that he was turned because he betrayed her father, and he basically tries to convince Frank that if you join me, I could turn you, and then we can get revenge on Abigail and her father, and basically take all the money. So Frank turns, but he kills Lambert just for fucking with him. Then Frank decides he's gonna turn Joey. Abigail basically kind of becomes a goes from antagonist to basically someone in protagonist at this point. Helps Melissa or Joey, sorry, the character name, helps Joey throughout the film, but Frank, I'll admit this part doesn't really make sense to me. How is she stronger than? I mean, how is he stronger than her? I get it. Um, like he just turned, and I guess he got a little bit of a power up when he drained Lambert too, because he ended up draining him. But it really makes no sense because Abigail, I felt like would have more experience because she's been a vampire way longer. This dude just turned into a vampire. Because there's even a scene like when she kills him, where they both kill him, and Abigail says to him, "It takes a while before you can start doing the cool shit." But it's like he's already kind of doing it. He beat Abigail twice. Like if we're going just on straight physicality, he beat her twice. So I was like, how is he this strong? Like I get it. We needed to have a little bit of like a fight, but what should have happened? How I would have tweaked it, I wouldn't have made Frank. I would have had Lambert bite him, have Frank agree to it, but Lambert turns on him. Have Lambert be like, no, I decided, I lied. And he kills Frank. Because I can buy Lambert being a little bit strong, because he's been a vampire for a while, and he works for her father, and he would know who her father is. So I can buy him. You should have just had him be the bad guy. It just felt like it was random. We're going to have Frank be the bad guy now, even though he was like a dick throughout the movie, but he wasn't like, I won't flat out say he was a bad guy. He was just kind of a dick throughout the movie. It was a weird leap. We're going to have him just be like, from going from he's a little bit of an asshole to he's a flat out bad guy now. That was a weird decision for me. And it was weird because I'm like, how is he so strong? He's only been a vampire for all of like, I guess if we're going within the movie time, maybe like an hour is what it looks like. So he's been a vampire for all of 30 minutes to an hour, and he's able to take out Abigail twice. Abigail's been a vampire longer. I don't know. I feel like if you've been a vampire longer, shouldn't you be stronger than the person who just turned? That's just me. Anyways, they managed to both kill Frank because she ends up biting Joey, but Joey turns and he tries to control her, but she goes against him. They both basically manage to kill Frank, and then her father comes, who's Lazar, but they pretty much imply he's Dracula. I mean, even with the line, because he says a line, "I have gone by many names," so we're left to assume that it's Dracula. They just don't say it. But Abigail stands up to her father, and he basically lets Joey go. She drives off, and that's it. She eats a lollipop, which she eats earlier. I'm the only question I got. I don't know if it's supposed to be a regular lollipop because the way the implication is, it's almost seen as an implication that because they mentioned she is a druggie, so I don't know if that's supposed to be a drug lollipop because you can make those. That's a thing. Um. But aside from that, I love this movie. This is an entertaining movie. It's a fun horror comedy. Kind of gave me a little bit. It's like Renfield last year. Granted, I would say Renfield's a bit more comedic. I felt like this one leans more horror, for sure. I would say. Granted, I would say this one's a comedy too, but I feel like Renfield is almost more comedy than horror. I feel like this one is actually like a straight up. There's a balance. I think there is some legit horror scenes in there. You know, like I said, the only part I really have a little bit of issue is the third act. I wouldn't have had Frank be the big bad. I would have had Lambert be it. It didn't make any sense how Frank is this strong all of a sudden he just turned into a vampire. It's not that usually he just turned. So Abigail should be whooping his ass. She's been a vampire for like the implication is she's been a vampire for like I don't think they don't say it, but the way I gather it's like she's existed for thousands of years. Or 1,000. Or over a couple hundred at least. So you're really gonna have me believe that this dude who just became a vampire like an hour ago is almost as strong as Abigail. And even the scene where she stabs him, I didn't say it, but she stabs him like you don't before she stabs him, she's like, it takes a long time before you can even start doing the cool vampire shit. But he almost killed her twice, so that doesn't make sense. Anyway, it doesn't ruin the movie. It's just a little bit of a criticism I have. But overall, I love this movie. Fun characters, fun violence. It knew what it was. I just love the premise, and I love that they made the premise work. The kid actress who played Abigail was great. I thought the entire cast was great. Melissa Barrera, I had problems with her in Scream 5, but that was the script, not just her. I think she's genuinely a good actress in this movie. Like I thought her as Joey was pretty good, and all the characters are flawed. She's not like a Mary Sue where she's just good at everything. No, they're flawed characters, and they even point it out. I thought this movie was genuinely funny when it needed to be. It knew how to have like a nice balance. So. Score was okay. I didn't have a great score, but not every film needs to have like an iconic score. I can't expect that for every film, you know. But I love how well they did the contained horror aspect too, because that's what this film is. It's very much a contained horror. There's only a couple of characters. You're in this house, this big mansion, and that's it. There's no like outside world. Pretty much, aside from the start of the movie where they're at her house, the rest of the movie is pretty much in this house. Which I love movies like that. I love contained stuff. Because I think contained horror is just like some of the best horror. You're like stuck in this one place for an entire time. It makes for good horror. Like The Thing, Alien, just movies like that. So definitely would watch this again. Down the line, I would definitely watch it again. This is a great film. So, but sorry guys, like that's all I can really say. It's like it's kind of a simple story. It's not real like this is not gonna be one of those like we're gonna be fucking just surgically going into the movie because there's not a lot of talk. It's a very straightforward movie, So 8 out of 10, pretty good. So tonight or today at some point I'm gonna be reviewing Blue Velvet. I've never seen it, so I'm just gonna be going in blind. It's a movie my friend recommended me. Steve usually recommends me good stuff to watch, so so I'll be reviewing that later. Tomorrow, I'm going to be reviewing The Covenant, finally. Wednesday, I am going to be doing The Suburban Commando. I'll figure out what I'll do Thursday. Friday, I am gonna be doing. The plan is to see the new Planet of the Apes movie. Um, and um, I'm gonna be doing a spoiler review of that, and then I'm thinking next Friday we're gonna start like the like Andy Serkis ones. We'll go back and do those movies. So, but I figure why not? We'll just watch the new one first. I'll figure out what we're gonna do Thursday. I think I said it. I just don't know why I can't think of it right now. What I said I'm gonna do Thursday, but it'll come back to me. I'll come back to me at some point. So, but that's so far my schedule this week. But other than that, I am gonna end it here. Abigail's really good. If you like vampire movies, like this isn't like one of the greatest vampire movies ever made, but it is pretty good. It's a pretty enjoyable one. I think you'll like it. It's a fun premise, fun characters. Like I think that alone you'll like the characters. So, all right, y'all. Talk to y'all later. Peace.